Have a nice day, student. Today we discuss about the diversity of living beings. First of all, what is the meaning of diversity? Diversity means varieties of living beings. Diversity means varieties. Here, various type of living beings are present on the land. They are from simpler to complex living beings on the land. So this is known as the diversity. They are present everywhere on the land. So why we study about the diversity? So we having some reasons for study about the diversity. First thing, to know about the living beings. Second, to obtain various new varieties or genes, and to establish the relationship between various living beings. These are the certain reasons to study about the diversity or to study about the various living beings. Now, how we can study about the various type of living beings in a simpler manner? So we need a classification of living beings. So first of all, we classify the living beings on the basis of their similar features. We call it the classification. Classification is the categorization of living being or grouping of living beings in various groups on the basis of their similar and dissimilar feature. Classification is the grouping and categorization of living beings. For example, on the land the various type of living beings are present. We can classify in some basic groups. For example, all the living beings are divided in two groups on the basis of their feature. For example, one group we call them plants, another group we call them animals. So this is the classification. On the basis of some specific features, we divided the living beings in two groups here. Another feature, we having the cell also. The living beings are made up of cells. So animals having and plants having the cells. So on the basis of cells also, living beings are categorized in two groups. Here, there are the two group of living beings on the land on the basis of their cell structure and cell composition. One we call them prokaryotes. Pro it means primitive, karyote it means nucleus. If the living being having the primitive nucleus, we call them prokaryotes. So living beings are categorized on the basis of cell. So this is the first group, and another group we call them eukaryotes. Eukaryote it means they are the advanced living beings. They are having well developed nucleus. So living being can be categorized in various groups on the basis of their features. So here we discuss about the two bases, but we are having many features and categories of living beings. So first of all, we discuss what is the significance of classification. What are the advantages of classification? So significance of classification. It is helpful in the study of living beings. So first advantage about of the classification of living being, that is the first thing we call it the study of living beings. And second one, it help in the establish of relationship between various living beings. Now, it also helpful in the study of evolution of living beings. Evolution is the development of living being from simpler living being to complex living being is called the evolution. Evolution first time described by the Charles Darwin. This term was first time described or explained by Charles Darwin in his book Origin of Species. Now, how we can classify the living beings? The living beings are classified in the various group on the basis of their certain features. So this on the basis of feature we form some groups and categories of the living beings. Here we form some categories of the living beings in which we divided or classified the living beings. So these groups or categories of living beings are called taxonomic groups or taxonomic hierarchy. So first of all, what is the meaning of taxonomy? Taxonomy is the branch of science which deal with the classification, nomenclature and identification of living beings. So first of all we discuss about the identification. Identification it means the living beings are identified as a plant or animal or any other group. As we know, this is the group of particular living being. For example, this is the plant and this is the animal. Then we give them a scientific name. So first of all, first criteria, identify the living beings. And second criteria is give them scientific name. Scientific name, this process of naming or nomenclature, we call them scientific nomenclature. Nomenclature it means give them scientific name. Now another one, classify the living beings in a particular group. It means we call them classification. Classification it means grouping of living being on the basis of their similar features. So these are the branch of science. This is the branch of science in which we study about these all things. The living being or group of living being which we study in these categories we call them taxon. Taxon is the living being or group of living being which is used for the study, we call them taxon. For example, we study about a tree, about a plant or about an animal. So this tree is also a taxon and an animal is also taxon and a plant is also taxon. Taxon it means a living being which is used for study. We call it the taxon. So study of classification or study of living being is called the taxonomy. Taxonomy is the branch of science which deal with the study of living being. So in the taxonomic hierarchy, the living beings are divided in certain groups. So which one is the highest order? The highest order is called the kingdom. This is the highest level of classification. It means we can divide the whole living beings in two kingdoms. One is the plant kingdom, another is the animal kingdom. So on the land there are only two kingdoms. One is the plant kingdom and another is the animal kingdom. Now after that kingdom, the another group of classification, that is the phylum. Next one we call them class. Next order, family, genus and species. So these are the certain categories or hierarchy order which are used for the study of living being. So kingdom is the highest category or level of classification. And the species is the lowest or smallest category of classification. Smallest or lowest category of classification. Now, we discuss about the species. What is the species? Species is the group of living beings which can interbreed. Group of living beings which can interbreed is called species. So, species is the basic unit of classification. It is the basic unit of classification. In any type of classification or in any classification, species is the basic unit. So here we discuss species. It is the basic unit of classification. In the case of animal as well as in the case of plants, the basic unit of classification, we call it the species. Now we discuss about the nomenclature. Nomenclature it means give them scientific name to the plants and animal. We call them nomenclature. Here, the scientific nomenclature is based on certain rules. So there are so many organizations which are responsible for nomenclature. International Code for Botanical Nomenclature and International ICZN, International Code of Geological Nomenclature. International Code for Botanical Nomenclature, it means it gives the name of plants, and ICZN, this is the organization which gives the name of animals. So here the two organization, major organization which are responsible for the allotment of nomenclature or name of the plants and animals. Now we discuss about the binomenclature. Binomenclature is the naming of plants and animals on the basis of certain rules and regulations. So binomenclature is explained or given by the Carolus Linnaeus. Carolus Linnaeus is also known as the father of taxonomy. He gave the binomenclature in his book. Name of the book is Systema Naturae. In this book, he gave the nomenclature. According to this nomenclature, every living being, every scientific name of living being having the two words. So we call it the binomenclature. First word is related with the generic name or generic word, and second word which is related with species. So any living being which having the scientific name, it having two words. First word we call them generic and second word we call them the species. So here, for example, human name or scientific name of human is Homo sapiens. Homo is the generic word or genus word, and sapiens. Sapiens is the scientific name of human species. On the land, human being having only single species, we call it the sapien. So Homo sapien is the scientific name of man or human. So it having the two words. First word we call them Homo, which is the related with generic name. Second word which is related with the species, we call them sapien. Now, what are the certain criteria or certain conventions which are used for the nomenclature? So these are the certain conventions which are used for the nomenclature. So what are the certain conventions? So first of all we discuss about the conventions which are used for the nomenclature. So first, the first word genus. First word which is related with genus, it start with capital letter. In any scientific name, the first letter is capital letter and first word is related with genus. Now, in the case of second word, we call them species. Species having the or it start with a small letter. Now, third one convention is the scientific names are written in books in the italic font. If they are handwritten, so they are separately underlined. Separately underlined. Now, the scientific name should be taken from Latin language. So these are the certain criteria and conventions which are used for the nomenclature of any living beings. Now we discuss about the systems of classification. So here we having the three systems of classifications. First of all, artificial system of classification. In this classification, we use only some superficial features for classification. So this is known as the artificial system of classification. Now, second one, we call it the natural classification. It is based on only few natural features, natural characters or features. So this type of classification is known as the natural classification, and third one we call it the phylogenetic classification. This classification is related with the this classification is based on the evolutionary sequence and genetic relationship of the living beings. Now we discuss about the classification of organisms. So here living beings are categorized in the groups in the categories. This is known as the classification of living beings. So here we discuss about the various classifications. So first of all we discuss about the two kingdom classification. First, two kingdom classification. This two kingdom classification, it means the living beings are categorized in two groups. So we call it the two kingdom classification. According to this classification, the living beings are categorized in two groups. One is called plant, another is called the animals. This system of classification was given by Carolus Linnaeus. He also known as the father of taxonomy. Basically, his original name was Carl von Linné, but after by nomenclature, he also changed his name Carolus Linnaeus, which is made up of only two words. One is the Carolus, another is the Linnaeus. He is known as the father of taxonomy. He gave this classification, and according to this classification, living beings are categorized in two groups. Now, another classification, which is we call them three kingdom classification. Three kingdom classification. This classification was given by Ernest Haeckel, and he introduced the new group. We call it the Protista. He introduced new group or new kingdom we call it the Protista. It means, according to this classification, living beings are categorized in three groups. First animals, second plants, and third one is Protista. So this is known as the three kingdom classification, which was given by Ernest Haeckel. Now the third system of classification, we call it the four kingdom classification. It was given by Copeland. According to the system of classification, the living beings are categorized in four groups or four kingdoms. So this system of classification was given by Copeland, and this system of classification having the four kingdoms. So what are the four kingdoms? First, animal kingdom. Second, plant kingdom. Third one, Protista. And fourth one, we call them Monera. So these are the four kingdom classification, or this is the four kingdom classification in which the living beings are categorized in four groups or four kingdoms. Now we discuss about the five kingdom classification, which is given by R.H. Whitaker. Five kingdom classification. It was given by R.H. Whitaker. According to this classification, the living beings are categorized in five groups. First, animals. Second group, plants. Third one, fungi. Protista. And Monera. Here the fungi group was introduced by this person or by the scientist R.H. Whitaker. So what are the basic criteria and basic of classification? So here the certain criteria which are used for the classification of living being. First, complexity of the cell. Second one, mode of nutrition. Third one, level of organization. These are the certain bases and criteria which are used for the classification of five kingdoms. So according to this five kingdom classification, the living beings are categorized in five groups. First group we call them Monera. In the case of Monera, the living beings which are related with the unicellular prokaryotes. The living beings which are unicellular and prokaryotic in cell nature, they are classified in this group. For example, bacteria and cyanobacteria. These are the living beings which are prokaryotic in nature and unicellular. So this group is known as the Monera. Second one or second group is called the Protista. Protista is also having the unicellular living beings. In this group, unicellular eukaryotes are classified in the Protista. Example, protozoa, animals like amoeba, paramecium, euglena. These are the living beings which are we call them Protista because they are the unicellular and eukaryote sorts. Now, third group we call them kingdom fungi. In the case of fungi, these type of living beings, they are the eukaryotic, multicellular, and heterotrophic in the mode of nutrition. Now, example in the case of fungi, Aspergillus and Penicillium. Now, next kingdom, fourth kingdom, we call them plantae. This kingdom having only plants which are eukaryotic and multicellular. They are autotrophic in mode of nutrition. They can synthesize their own food, so we call them autotrophs. This is the group of plants. They are having the various type of plants, and last kingdom is known as the Animalia. So here, this is the five kingdom classification in which the living beings are categorized in five kingdoms. So this type of living being also eukaryotic, multicellular, and heterotrophic in the mode of nutrition. And last one classification, which is, and the next classification we call them six kingdom classification, which was given by Carl Hughes. In this classification, the Monera group is divided into two subcategories. First, Archaebacteria, the bacteria which are available here, which are found in the extreme condition, we call them Archaebacteria. Extreme condition, it means very high temperature and very high salinity. This is the extreme condition. The bacteria which are found in the very high temperature and very high salty area. So this type of living beings or this type of bacteria are known as the Archaebacteria and Eubacteria. Eubacteria, it means normal bacteria which are present in our surroundings. So according to the Carl Hughes, the living beings are categorized in six kingdoms. Thanks and have a nice day.